We're here to advocate on behalf of our clients.
Yep.
So we take on a fiduciary responsibility for our buyers, meaning we're putting their interests ahead of all else in the transaction.
Yeah.
So we're championing their cause, their desires, their priorities, whatever is in their best interest. That is our commitment. Hey, Chris.
What's up, Eric?
I'm having a lot of conversations lately about people that are like on the fence because they're renting now and they want to know, is this the right time to buy? Or they have their own thoughts because they're being influenced by all sorts of things. And everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Yeah. And I totally respect their opinion. And I'm committed to them having a well-informed opinion. I want them to be educated about the market. I want them to be informed about their options. And I want them to make a decision that's based on that information, not what somebody's telling them at work,
Yep.
not even friends, family, parents, loved ones, because they have a whole different perspective on the world and they may or may not have the right information or the right perspective to serve that individual's needs.
Exactly.
And so I want to talk a little bit just to help people through the process. I don't think it's as daunting as most people perceive it is, especially if they've been renting for a while.
Yeah.
And it seems like maybe slaying this dragon to step into home ownership. It's like this big leap.
Yes.
And the reality is you're just changing the structure of how you're paying your monthly living expenses.
Yeah.
But what you're doing is instead of paying someone else's mortgage that owns the property you're living in now, you're paying your own mortgage and you're building equity.
Yep.
And there's probably some tax benefits that are potentially there for you. And you have the freedom to paint your bedroom wall so it matches your comforter.
Right.
And are you taking on more responsibility? Yes.
Yeah. Because now your landlord isn't responsible for fixing that air conditioning.
Right.
Or the water system or whatever.
But let me ask you a question. You've been a homeowner for many, many, many years.
Yes.
How many times have you fixed your air conditioning?
I feel like there's an air conditioning repair once every 3 to 5 years.
Okay, so once every 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
So if that's the stumbling block, we actually know a few great AC repair companies. They'll treat you very well and they'll be very fair. But when you take the cost of something like that people may perceive as kind of like a catastrophic expense or unexpected or really disruptive, however it is categorized in our brains, but you amortize that over the span of time, over the 5 years in between.
Right.
And then you take the responsibility of, hey, I'm just going to service this for $99 or $149 or whatever every year and maintain it. And I'm going to take on that responsibility. So I probably don't have the 5-year repair. I might have a 10-year repair.
Right.
But you amortize that, it becomes such an incremental little cost.
Right. And when you say amortized, I want to make sure people know that you're spreading that cost out over time.
Right.
So that, it's not a spike in expense.
Yeah.
There's another way to, and this is kind of what we call risk mitigation, right?
Yeah.
We're protecting ourselves from risk. You can avoid a lot of these spikes or tragic, meltdowns in your life.
Yeah.
I mean, my home has 3 air conditioning units. I've got a big family. That's just the reality of the home I bought.
Yeah.
If all of the units went out in 1 year period of time, I'd be in trouble. I'd probably spend $24,000, $26,000, $30,000 replacing all 3 units.
Right.
The great thing is I can buy a home warranty for $600 a year, and usually that has a service agreement in there where they'll service it once a year. And if you have a catastrophic meltdown on any or all of those units, they're going to come out and fix it, and you just pay a $100 copay.
Yeah.
So that's an important aspect of home ownership, and there are opportunities to help you manage those fears that you have going from a renter to an owner.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about the process, because I also think that there's a great misperception with a lot of prospective home buyers. They're ready in life to step into home ownership.
Yeah.
They have the desire, they see the benefits of it, but they're afraid that they're not going to have enough money saved up.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I think is important to share is there are lower down payment programs, things like an FHA loan that have been around for years.
Yeah.
It's not ridiculously difficult to qualify for those. The FICO score requirements are not that high. The down payment amount on those is typically 3.5%.
Yep.
So when you think about that in terms of a $400,000 townhome or single family home, for example, that's less than $15,000 cash that you would need. Now there are some closing costs and other things that we would walk through with our clients to make sure they have a very clear picture of it. But it's not like you have to have $40,000-$50,000 or more saved as a down payment.
Right.
And so I think that it's way more accessible and way more attainable than people realize.
Right.
The other thing for new homeowners is there's some amazing first-time homebuyer programs.
Yeah, there are.
And some of those include grants. There's one out there right now that's available that has a grant up to $55,000. That's a forgivable grant that can be credited towards a down payment, which is just basically gaining instant equity. There's some specific requirements, as there are with any program like that.
Right.
But what an opportunity for people to step out of renting and just giving that money away every month.
Yep.
And I'm not completely opposed to renting, because there's seasons of life or places that we might travel, or a certain area that we want to live in,
Yeah.
where renting is a viable option for a while.
Absolutely.
But it is a stepping stone toward homeownership if that's what you ultimately desire.
Well, and just to add as a side note to what you're saying is one of the very best, I would say the best loan program out there for potential home buyers is the VA loan for those who have served in our armed forces.
Yes.
I mean, it's the lowest interest rate, it's 0% down, and it's the lowest mortgage insurance. I don't even think there's mortgage insurance anymore on them. So if that's you, that's a great opportunity to talk with us. And we've done hundreds of, maybe even more than hundreds of VA loans. So we understand that process as professionals. And we work with lenders who are great at that process as well.
Yeah, I am always grateful to work with veterans. I actually had a closing last week with a man that did serve. He did get a VA loan. It was smooth and easy. The lender did a great job, and he was able to transition from out of state.
Yeah.
And is super excited to be here in Arizona. Found an amazing place. He's like over the moon excited.
Yeah.
About stepping into this place, and it wasn't a challenging process for him.
Right.
A few hoops to jump through. Got to get a few things organized, but most of that stuff is up front, and then you get to be a homeowner. How
Right.
awesome is that?
Yeah, we've had people who go through this process, and I've had people say, gosh, I thought this was going to be hard. It was easier than buying a car, which is kind of funny because we've talked about in the past how big this process is and how deep it goes and how many people are involved. So that's kind of a testament for us. That's exciting to know that we did such a good job that we made this for our clients feel like it was easier than buying a car.
Oh, yeah.
Even though on the back end it was big, we take joy in that.
I have never, in over 20 years of doing this, left clients sitting in my office and said, I got to go talk to my manager and come back with a big number and a line and be like, this is our bottom line deal. Like,
Yeah.
I've never done that in a real estate transaction.
That's called the drop.
Yeah, you don't have to spend 6 miserable hours sitting in our office to do a
Right.
real estate transaction. In fact, we have a lot of clients that sign their purchase agreement on their phone now.
Yeah, absolutely. Digital signatures is great.
Yeah.
With that being said, there is still negotiation that goes on behind
course.
the scenes, and yeah, when we, you've put an offer in and then there's a counter offer, we don't always explain what we're hearing on the phone about people griping about our offer or the other side of it.
Yeah.
But again, that's part of the fun for us is we get to negotiate and we don't have to do the drop.
Well, and here's the difference. If you go into a car dealership to buy a car, the salesperson in the car dealership is an employee of the company.
Right.
They're there to advocate for the seller of that car.
Right.
We're here to advocate on behalf of our clients.
Yep.
So we take on a fiduciary responsibility for our buyers, meaning we're putting their interests ahead of all else in the transaction.
Yeah.
So we're championing their cause, their desires, their priorities, whatever is in their best interest. That is our commitment,
Yes.
is to honor that in the transaction. And you know what? It kind of makes me think of new construction. There's some
Yep.
beautiful new communities out here. Beautiful. We love working with builders. And the challenge is, just like a car dealership, if you walk into a model home and you start talking to the builder representative and you register with them, you're negotiating with someone that's representing the seller.
And they do tell you that, but it goes past a lot of people because they're caught up in the glitz and glamour of the model.
Right.
Which, by the way, when you go into a new build, you're not buying that model.
Right.
Make sure you always see a home that they're selling you
Yeah.
before you really sign on the dotted line. Make sure you see that unfurnished, unjudged up house.
Yeah. The
So
one
that-
without the $200,000 of additional upgrades.
right,
in it.
with the
Yeah.
amazing interior designer. Absolutely. Yeah, and that's why we like to, and we're here for our buyers to go represent them with a new build.
Yeah.
And many, many new builders will require their agent to accompany them for the first showing.
Yeah.
So make sure that.
Well, and the truth is, if you're interested in that, if a new home sounds appealing to you, and sometimes, like we've had clients within the last year that they were looking at resale homes, we got really clear on their personal priorities, and we were able to suggest, hey, I think we should actually go consider this. Like, would this location for this community work for you?
Right.
Let's determine that first. And if it would work for you, this area of town, then let me send you some options there. So I'm going to proactively talk to that builder. I'm going to ask what they currently have available. I'm going to ask what their build time is if they don't have something available that's a fit. I'm going to ask what their incentives are.
Right.
And one of the advantages for consumers right now, especially if you have someone advocating, one that we did recently that comes to mind, we were able to go in and they were offering a $15,000 discount on a house with some closing cost incentives. By the time we got done with them, which was a great exchange, we were able to work really collaboratively with the builder's agent. It was a really nice experience, but we were able to negotiate an additional $20,000, so we got $35,000 off for our client.
Right.
We got them $8,000 in closing costs, and we got them a fixed interest rate of 5.99%, which is unheard of in the current interest rate
right.
climate
When we're
that
at
we're in.
6 to 7 interest on the market.
At least.
At least.
Yeah, at least that.
Yeah.
So it was such a huge win for our client. They're in a home they love. We found them something they didn't even know they were looking for.
Yep.
But we realized it was the perfect solution for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, also it's important to just know and acknowledge that, you know, we were comparing going into a car dealership and going into a new build. Those are two very different things.
Mm-hmm.
Understand that a car today is 90% built by a robot,
Yeah.
and the technology is amazing.
Yeah.
The homes today are still built by hand.
Yeah.
They're built by humans, and they have, you know, and I really genuinely believe that every single builder out there wants to make the best product as possible.
I do too.
But any track that you go to, they're building anywhere from 20 to 50 homes at every moment.
Yeah.
Every single day. And they've got every subcontractor you can imagine, and those subcontractors are dealing with employment. There's some rotating door aspects. So even the best supers cannot keep track of every single detail. And we are seeing a situation, I think, again, aside from best intentions, where when you buy a new home, don't go in thinking that you're going to be buying like a new car. You have to know that there's going to be problems with the build itself.
Yeah.
We hope not. But window sills can be crooked, windows can be cracked,
Yeah.
frames can be cracked, plumbing, stuff that's unseen unless an inspector crawls up into a roof where like there's venting and plumbing and gas.
Yeah.
Those things are super important, and I'm finding that stuff has been overlooked a lot in the past, and now that homes are becoming more technologically advanced, they're getting really complex air systems involved, the homes are becoming very efficient.
Yeah.
With that comes new technology that the market has not kept up with, making sure the quality control is there. And so having a great agent who's aware of that, is looking for that, and having partners with appraisers and inspectors who are watching that, that's a really big part of our business as well.
Yeah, it is, because we want to make sure that you're just thrilled with the product that you got.
Yeah.
And we can't assume that it's going to be flawless.
Right.
Right? Because there is the human element.
But you are buying a product that's supposed to be flawless.
Yeah,
You're buying a
but
new
that's
build.
why we're there, to make sure you get what you're paying for.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
Renters, we kind of got off the topic of renters. Was it
well,
something
no, I
else?
think we're still talking about it, because I think actually new construction is a great option for people that are renting now.
Because they're going to get a great rate.
And there are, I mean, we have such an influx of people relocating to Arizona from out of state that a lot of people come here and rent initially. I did when I moved here.
Yeah.
And they rent initially because they want to get familiar with an area, and then they want to venture out to some surrounding areas, and they want to see, like, what's the vibe that fits their tribe?
Yes.
Like, where do they feel at home? What feels like the nicest neighborhood? Where do they feel like they're getting the most bang for their buck? And where do they see themselves, their family, whoever's involved, where do they see them settling in to a community that they're really going to love living in? And to me, that's always the goal. I always share with our clients, when I know we've done a good job is when I see you a year from now and you still love the home that you chose.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's the reward for me. That's what makes me feel really good about the job that we've done and the value that we've created for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you're renting now and you want to learn about home buying, you want to learn about the process, what's the first step that I need to take? What comes next? What does it look like once I'm negotiating a contract? Once I am successful in negotiating a contract and I have my dream house and we're ready to open escrow, what does that process look like? We're here to share all the details with you. We're going to walk with you every step of the way. But most importantly, we're going to create some insight and some information so that you feel well informed all the way through the process, and we're always going to advocate on your behalf to make sure that you get the best results.